There was tension and political drama on Tuesday at the gates of the National Assembly as suspended Senator Natasha made good her vow to resume legislative duties only to be denied entry. Arriving just around noon in a black vehicle, the Kogi Central lawmaker was stopped at the first gate by security operatives. Unfazed, she stepped out of the car, joined by a small crowd of supporters, including human rights activist Aisha Yusufu, Randa Peters, among others. They began working into the complex. But that was just the beginning. At the second gate, the senator was stopped again and asked to turn back. She and her supporters pushed forward, only to meet a locked final gate, signaling a clear message: access denied. Despite peaceful attempts to negotiate entry, the gates remained shut. Senator Natasha, visibly disappointed, later addressed the media, describing the incident as a violation of her rights and vowing to consult her legal team on the next steps.
Notified the Senate through two letters that I would be resuming functions today. As a matter of fact, I'm disappointed on two grounds. One is the number of armed policemen that we met outside, all well kitted with guns, charged at a female senator who is unarmed with her people here, patriotic Nigerians. And the second thing is the fact that the Senate, under the leadership of Godswill Akpabio, have decided to become lawbreakers and by denying me entrance into the chambers to resume my duty. There's been some conversations in the media by his own team trying to twist the narrative that the judge did not order my reinstatement, and I'd like to clarify that. You see, pursuant to Section 318 of the 1999 Constitution, it is very clear that decisions of a court comes in five ways. It could be a judicial decree, it could be a sentence, it could be an order, it could be a conviction, and it could be a recommendation. So an order is just one of the five decisions that a judge can pronounce.
Her attempted return follows the 6-month suspension imposed on March 6 by the Senate for what it called breaches of legislative rules. That decision came shortly after she made serious allegations of sexual harassment against Senate President Godswill Akpabio, claims that further deepened the controversy surrounding her suspension. Senator Natasha had challenged the suspension in court, and a federal high court in Abuja recently ruled in her favor, ordering the Senate to lift the suspension. But the Senate, led by President Akpabio, filed an appeal, arguing that the court position was merely advisory and not binding.
People have wondered, Natasha, how come there's so much hate? How come you were suspended for 6 months? Just the day after you tendered your petition on sexual harassment, you were suspended. And then there was the fraudulent recall. We all saw how we survived a recall. And then there's been a whole lot of attacks against me, which by the grace of God I've survived. And whenever people ask me, Natasha, why is there so much hate from the Senate President against you? Why is that the institutions have turned against you, even though, by and large, you are pretty much one of the fairest senators or politicians in Nigeria? And I tell them, this is just an iceberg of what I have had to suffer and endure in the Senate under Akpabio's leadership for the last 1 year. Many of you thought that my speech on that floor, when I told him I was not afraid of him, and I did mention, I said, if you make me speak to the media on what I have had to endure in your hands, it would go pretty. And that's to let Nigerians know that that outburst I had on the floor was just a compilation of so many wrongs that Akpabio has meted against me. And I will say this, pretty much it's a shame that we have had so many good Senate presidents. We've had Chuba Akpadibo of blessed memory. We've had Senator David Mark. We have had Bukola Saraki. We've even had Ahmed Lawal, who is a senator right now. And I'd say this pretty much is the worst assembly Nigeria has ever had.
Ahead of her attempted return, the senator had declared at a weekend empowerment program in Kogi State that she would resume on Tuesday, citing the court judgment. But in response, Senate spokesman Yemi Adaramadu issued a strongly worded statement insisting there is no standing court order compelling the Senate to recall her. He warned that any attempt by Senator Akpotiuduaghan to force her way in would undermine the dignity of the Senate and violate due process. As the Senate heads into a 2-month recess, the political standoff is far from over. Senator Natasha says she is not backing down. The courts have spoken, but whether the Senate will listen remains a question of law, power, and principle. From the National Assembly, Oluwatobienito, reporting for TV Platinum.